Okay, so got a question of how to sell a house as is. So not so simple to answer. Oh, first of all, welcome to the Flipping and Wholesaling Houses in New York show. I'm Michael Pinter, where I teach you how to start flipping and wholesaling houses in New York, or if you're already doing it, how to grow your business. Now, the question really is, when you say sell a house as is why are you selling it as is, right? There could be a few different reasons. The most common reasons I see are that the house is in terrible condition, or that the house has some municipal problem. So maybe a unpermitted addition, maybe some open violations, maybe open permits. Those are different reasons, very different. Now, and also the question is, who the hell are you, right? This is a general question. It's a very broad question. The question is, are you just a homeowner looking to get the hell out of it? Are you an investor like me and you need to sell it as is? So, a couple of things. The important thing when you're selling as is, right? If it's a condition problem or it's a municipal problem, it's really to get in touch with somebody like me, right? Because that's what we do, right? I buy stuff as is, and I usually fix them up and I sell them. So you might want to Google, sell my house as is in your city. Or you might want to call me if you're in Long Island, which is, my number is 516-209-2010, by the way. Now, if you are an investor, then you got to find cash buyers that you want to assign the contract to. And that is something that I've done multiple videos on, something that I feel very strongly should only be done once you get a deal. But just selling the property as is, the key parts are that you need to tell everyone that you're selling it as is before they come and even take a look, right? Understand and then be open with them. This is the problem, right? The house is falling apart. The house has got tons of crap. I don't want to deal with it. I want you to know about that before you even get into it. You don't want to get into a situation where somebody thinks that they're going to get the standard representations of a regular real estate transaction. So, and I'll just tell you what a regular real estate transaction, number one, is going to have a mortgage contingency in it, which you don't want to do if the property is in really bad condition, because they're not going to get a mortgage on it, right? If you got a hole in the roof, you're not getting a mortgage on it. If the kitchen appliances don't work, you're not getting a mortgage on it. If the electrical or plumbing's not working, you're not getting a mortgage on it. And therefore, if you have a mortgage contingency, you're going into a contract that's never going to close. So you don't want to represent that. Also, most real estate transactions, the seller represents they're going to leave the property broom clean. They're going to get everything out of there and they're going to clean it up. If your house is a disaster and you're selling it as is, you don't want to represent that. So really what's important here is that your attorney that is representing you understands all these things. I can't tell you how many situations I've got into where these things were not communicated between the client and the attorney, and it ended up being a big problem later. You have to be in touch with your attorney so that the contract is written that way. That's really important. Really important. I can't even overemphasize how important that is. If you have some kind of issue, you need to tell your attorney about it. Now, unfortunately, most attorneys are not that swift. They're really not bright, and they're ready to do regular, simple transactions. So let me give you an example. Another reason why you might want to sell is if you have a tenant in there that you want to sell and you want them to take it with the tenant. So I had a situation recently where I was taking a property with a tenant, and the client had a horrible attorney. The guy really didn't know what he's doing. And the attorney literally told the client, the seller, I don't know if it's even legal to sell a property with tenants. Now, that to me indicates just somebody who doesn't know what the hell's going on. Because you could sell a property no matter what, as long as everybody agrees to it. And I buy occupied properties all the time. I think I closed on a couple this week, and I'm closing on a couple more next week. So you have to be clear with your attorney about what's going on. So if there's some kind of as-is issue, whether it's condition, whether it's occupants in there, whether it's municipal issues regarding permits or violations, those are things you need to speak to your attorney, and they should be listed. So I'm buying a property soon. It's got some open permits and open violations, but it was listed in the contract. These are things that the buyer knows about, and I'm fine with them. I don't want anything else showing up, right? You told me about this issue. I'm fine with it, and I'll deal with it, but don't have anything else show up, because if anything else shows up new, some kind of new problem, then I want to get out of the contract. But I'll take it with the problems that we discussed, and I'm fine with that. So it's important that we all understand how that works. You need to be clear with your attorney so that when and everything is based on the contract, right? Contracts are very, very detailed legal documents in New York, and there is no way out of a contract in New York if one party doesn't want to get out. So you have to specifically stipulate whatever issue is going on in there, and you have to be very clear about it. So what happens a lot is that attorneys just assume that this is a regular transaction. And as I said before, a client doesn't tell them, and then client's in trouble. So if you want to sell a house as is, just tell your attorney, and you find a buyer, right? So first of all, to find a buyer, right? So you can go through the standard methods. You can call investors like me. You can list it on Craigslist if you want. That'll help you find a buyer too. And sometimes you can list it on the multiple listing service. The problem with multiple listing service is most realtors are even slower than most attorneys. And you're going to get people to come in and they're going to not even understand that there's something different. So, for example, on occasion, I will put out a wholesale deal on MLS, right? So I can't represent that I own it. I have to represent that I'm the contract vendee. But I still get more on agents telling me, what does that mean? What do you mean cash buyer? What? My buyers are great. They can get a mortgage. And I'm like, you don't understand. I'm assigning the contract, and they don't understand what I'm talking about. So the as is, for whatever reason, whether it's condition, municipal issues, occupants, is a complete monkey wrench, and there are people who want to do real estate transactions the same way every time. So you need to use an attorney who really understands how to do it. And if you're listing it with a realtor, you want a realtor that can convey whatever issue is going on to the people coming to see it. So that is how you sell a property as is, I would say. Now, if we want to talk about if you're an investor and you find and you're in contract on a property as is, and you want to then sell it or assign the contract. So the best ways to find buyers, I would say, you probably could list them on multiple listing service if you are clear about it. But what you want to do is you want to look on the MLS, if you have MLS access, multiple listing service access, the people, cash buyers that have bought properties in that area. And then you want to approach them. Now, it's not so easy to find their names. You may want to call the realtor who represented them on the last transaction, right? So they bought a property a couple of blocks away, and you might want to call the realtor and say, hey, is your guy looking for another property? That's one way to build a buyer's list. It's a way that I would recommend it. I think it really works. I think it's really the best way. Now, you can list, if you list on the MLS, you will find people coming, but you're also going to get a lot of people who are not right. Like I said before, realtors just don't understand what a cash buyer means, what an assignment of contract means, or what as is means, or what they don't get it. And that happens, unfortunately, way too often. But it's a way to build a list. You just have to sift through a lot of the morons that are going to call you and find the good people who are really serious about buying. So those are the things. I'm trying to think if there are any reasons for selling a property as is that I didn't touch. Oh, sometimes, see, as is really means it's only about the property. So I buy a lot of properties from people where it's not, the issue isn't the property. The issue is their situation. They need to close quickly, or they need to close in a long time, or they just don't want people coming in. That's not an as-is situation. They're selling their property and making the usual representations on the property. For the purpose of this discussion, we're talking about some kind of issue with the property. So I think condition, municipal issues, or occupants are really the as-is top issues here. So I hope this was helpful. If you're interested in other ways I can help you, go to howtoflipnewyork.com. That's HOWTOFLIPNEWYORK.com. If you're interested in a course I have that teaches how to do this, go to howtoflipnewyorkcourse.com. So just add COURSE at the end of that. If you are interested in one-on-one coaching or finding out more about one-on-one coaching, go to coaching.howtoflipnewyork.com. And if you're watching on YouTube, please subscribe. If you're watching on any platform, please click the thumbs up. Those really help me. And please keep the comments coming. I post 5 times a week. Sometimes I don't know what the hell to talk about. The comments really help me by giving me topics to discuss. There are no bad comments. You can ask me anything. If it's an easy answer, I'll just reply with an answer. If it's something that I just covered recently or I covered in depth, I'll send you links to those videos so you'll get the answer that way. And if it's something I haven't covered ever or haven't covered in a while, I will do a video on it. So I want to thank whoever asked this question, how to sell a property as is, how to sell a house as is. And I want to thank you for watching. I really appreciate it. My subscribers have really gone up recently, and I really can't express my appreciation enough to all of you that have been watching. So thank you very, very much. And please, please keep the comments coming. I need topics to discuss. Sometimes I just draw a complete blank, and your comments really help me. Thank you very, very much for watching.